Hey Scorpio, and welcome to your monthly reading. So this is a monthly reading, collective reading for Scorpio Sun or Rising for the month of April 2023. How are you doing, Scorpio, after this last bananas month of astrology? So clearly what's up for you is fourth house. I think some of you are needing like a little bit of internal time. So we'll get into that in a moment. Let's pull some cards. Which deck do I want to use for my Scorpios? Actually feeling in this deck here. Actually feeling a deck that I don't have on my table here. Bear with me for one moment. Just gonna pull those out. Gotta listen to my intuition when that happens. So here we go. All right. Okay, now I feel like complete. This feels like the right deck for you guys. All right, Scorpio, we're taking a look at what's happening, how the month is progressing over the beginning, middle, and end of the month. Also, what challenge card is coming up for you and spiritual advice. I just felt like those were all the ones that needed to come out, so we're going to go with it. And if we want to get any clarification cards on this, then I mean me, will, if I'm feeling like intuitively like that needs to happen. So, all right, Scorpio, this is a collective reading. In order to help direct where to apply this, what area, what theme of life to apply this to, that's why I'm using this deck, because it seems to be helping other people, and I just feel like it's like adding some clarity to this. So we're gonna go with it until it feels like it needs to change. So here we have the fourth house. That's what's showing up for you for this reading for this month of April. You know, and the fourth house is really just about our home, like our home environment, you know, in our house, our sanctuary, can have to do with our maternal figures in our life, whether you had a mother or not, whoever was like that caregiver, that maternal type figure, which could also be a dad, right? But, you know, has to do with our emotions, our deep and more sensitive aspects of ourself, our more internal self, our more sensitive, you know, sides, the ones that not everyone necessarily gets to see. I find it really interesting because we're talking about a house that's ruled by water and normally ruled by Cancer. And, you know, we're talking here like, hey, Scorpio, you're a water sign, you know, you've got that ruled by Mars, ruled by Pluto kind of water, but it's different water, you know? So here we have like this more deep sense of self. And I feel like these are waters that you can swim in, although, you know, we'll see how it's shaping up for the month. Let's take a look at how things are playing out. So we have the Judgment, Hermit, and Strength. I kind of really like this progression, and I do feel like the Hermit card is very much related to the fourth house here. Definitely feel like the Challenge card is also showing up to point at the fourth house. So we're going to relate everything back to the fourth house in this direction. So let's take a look first at the first third of the month. And what we're looking at here is the Judgment card, right? And this is definitely like, you know, I think you're being called forward by your guides. You can call them guides, angels, whoever, right, that looks after you, and hearing this call to step forward and be brave enough to move into the next level and the next steps in your life. And in order to do that, it may require that you confront some of the more sensitive places in your life. It might also require that you, and by confront, I mean like really be with them, like feel the feelings, feel them through, go through the uncomfortable parts and the sensitive parts and the soft parts. And if you need to this month, create a space, like a nest in your home, create a sanctuary in your home, a space where you can go to journal or to think or to just like listen to music and stare at the wall while you process your feelings, like whatever it is, or get out into nature, you know, maybe if that's not feeling like you got that much space at home to do that, you know, but carve something out for yourself where you have the space to like be in this so that you can move through these emotions. But also because like that, I think is going to provide the like the steps that you need to be able to move forward to whatever this next level of life is that's unfolding for you, and however that looks and feels. I think it's going to come from answering the call, right? And being willing to move through these things. And let's move into the middle of the month, because I feel like that was pretty clear. So moving into the middle of the month, we have the Hermit card that's showing up. right? It's actually a little easier for me to hold it from here. So we have the Hermit card, and this is really going within, like literally going into the cave and asking yourself the big picture questions, you know, really considering what it is that you want in life. Who am I? What do I want? What do I feel? How do I want my day-to-day life to look and feel? How do I want to like impact this world? Do I want to make an impact? What would make me happy? Like, what are the things that I feel still aligned with and the things that I don't feel aligned with? Asking yourself these really deep and meaningful questions about your life, about the direction of your life, so that when you go through that process of feeling into that and asking yourself these big picture questions and like really considering things, you have this guiding light that comes from an internal, and that's what this guiding light is. It's your own internal guiding light. This is not about, not to say that you can't ask for other people to give you feedback and to help you process, but more so that the guiding light for where you go next in this life, for whatever this next stage is, comes from this internal knowing. And that internal knowing comes from giving yourself the time to sit and be with these things that need to be addressed. You want to have a different kind of feeling life, then you're going to need to do this. You want to step into the next version of this, and you have like an integrated fourth house, then I think you're going to need to ask yourself these questions. And part of this process, I feel like, is coming into the last part of the month, which we have the Strength card showing up, right? I think it's a beautiful progression, like this entire reading. The Strength card is really speaking to the like making friends, basically, with the shadow aspects of ourselves, the fears, the things that are that we don't want to look at or face, the things that we wince and turn away from. We hear, like in the picture, I think it's beautifully depicted. We have a maiden, and she's just walking alongside next to this huge lion, and this is a predatory cat, right? Like most people would be not stoked about this. And so, like, in order to be in a place where you're at peace with like the beasts, the internal beasts in your life, there's an integration that needs to happen. There is like a listening to and being with the messages that they have there for you, so that they don't come out in twisty, toxic, weird ways, and that you're not acting out of integrity. But that you feel like you can move forward with some clarity as well, right? When we've taken time to like actually listen and give attention to those things in our life, and it's hard. Believe me, there are times where it's like, it's hard, but it's not so crazy hard. There are other times where I'm going to say right now, it is like so hard. I want to go running in the other direction. I'm like, anything but this. I would rather not. Thank you. No thanks. So I get that it can feel challenging and difficult to sit with these things, to be with them. But the level of peace and clarity and presence and groundedness that we have going forward when we do this for ourselves, when we allow ourselves to step into this, it takes a lot of courage. I mean, and this is courage, right? Like strength can be not just courage, but also gentle strength. Look at the maiden, right? There's a level of like peace and groundedness. Like she's just present. She's just here. And there's a softness to it. Like there's less edge. Not to say that you need to take away your edge, Scorpio, because believe me, that's part of your like charm and amazingness, is that you have that fringe edge kind of aspect to yourself. But this allows you to be more present, more yourself, more grounded, more at peace with your decisions. So take the time to actually integrate, listen to what fears come up inside of you, what the internal voices are saying. Like when you hear your self-talk and it's critical and it's telling you things that are really stressful, listen to that as a message and really process that, like hear what it has to say, so it doesn't get louder and louder. And that way you don't have to like do things that are more intense or more numbing or more distracting or whatever, so that you don't have to feel it. It's like, it builds its intensity, and then we build our intensity, right, as human beings, to like to shut it out more. It's like, it got louder, then I need to turn up my stereo louder, right? So it's just like, you can't keep up that without it becoming just, messy and spilling all over the place. So, I feel like I don't want to overdo that. I can tend to kind of roll with things a lot, and I'm trying to keep it succinct. So I feel like that's pretty clear. And when we're looking at the kind of like challenge that's coming up, we have the Queen of Cups, and it speaks to this entire theme that we've been looking at so far. Queen of Cups, in a challenge position, I'm going to say that I think that you're, this is a time where you can't afford to not nurture and nourish your emotional world and your psychic world as well. Like for those of you who have that going on, because that can be very much a part of, a Scorpio's world. And so, and especially like fourth house as well, right? These watery places. So, and speaking of that, with the watery places, we have the Queen of Cups showing up, and it's like, you can't ignore, like, that's the message here. It's like, the challenge is like, you probably want to ignore it. You probably aren't, like, it's probably a blockage here, with regard to like how you're not doing this in your life. And this is not the time to ignore the necessity to do what needs to be done to nourish and nurture your emotional world and your feelings. Like if you're feeling raw, some type of way about the world and feeling really raw and like sensitive or frustrated or, whatever it is, then it's like, well, what would be soothing? What would actually be calming? What would help me to handle and navigate and deal with this? And not run away or not do it in toxic ways, but like truly nourishing, because I think sometimes like we all need a break, and sometimes it doesn't look as like bubbles and white light and pretty as, people in spiritual worlds would try to make us think it needs to be. It doesn't always have to be unicorns, right? So sometimes it looks a little edgy, and especially for a Scorpio rising, Scorpio sun, like of course it can, but we need to know the difference between what's bordering on running escapism and toxic, and what is actually giving us a true nurturing and nourishing break for our emotions. What is actually giving us the ability to let off some steam or to take the pressure off without going dark, right? So, and then we have the spiritual advice being the King of Swords. One of the things that I really like about the King of Swords is like, very sharp-minded, very intellectual, very philosophical, very like of a very grounded, mature way of being in the world of thought and communication and beliefs and thoughts and communication, and what is like our personal truth, like staying true to ourselves. I'm like personal truth, but like how we stay true to ourselves, how we stay true to our world, the way that we communicate, how we approach life. And I think that like along with all of this emotional processing and whatnot that's happening here and that's showing up in this world about like taking care of your emotional world, you're being asked to like, hey, don't forget about the fact that, you're deep AF. You can go in and be like, feel into the emotional world and come through with a level of like presence and grounding that is like on the level of an intellectual philosopher type of person, right? Like remember that you have that available to you, that wisdom. And so really taking the time to also utilize any philosophies that you've adopted or that you believe in, right? Approach this intelligently. Like don't approach it all just like throwing spaghetti on the walls, right? Like approach this intelligently, approach this process intelligently. And I think that you're going to come out with a lot more clarity. I think that that's what's on the other side of this. So definitely if this is like your sun sign, check out your rising sign to get more of the full picture, or like check out the previous moon video that came out at the end of March, and be on the lookout for the next videos that are coming out a few days after this for the next moon phase. Those videos I think help give a more of a picture, a progression of how things are unfolding. It is still a collective reading though, so if you do want to know specifically and get like really clear and granular, which is what I like to do in my readings, about how this is showing up specifically for you and what's going on for you in a specific area of your life, then the information is down below for how you can book a 30, 60, or 90-minute reading with me. So hopefully this was helpful for you, Scorpio, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.